Koikos of Grad, Yugo, Zimsk, Shest et al. Are what you would call white officer in a suspect description.
Yes, to an untrained eye, the Koiko appear white and pinkish, like a ham sandwich. But look into their eyes and you will see. They are of an indistinct color, and the Koiko, the countless micronationalities of Grad, are all inexplicably obsessed with Podat. The only thing they like more is divided into microscopic ethnostates.
Wouldn't he be one for ethnostates?
They are microscopic. The Semenoreopagite superstate will cover the entire remaining planetary crust. Elected by nature. The Vasholians, halfway between type A and the racial cauldron. Too mixed to know right from wrong. You tried your degenerate little evolution.
Is it 82,000 years that we've been recording history? You have very little idea of what is happening, but that seems a little off.
The revolution came to Ravachol from Grad, in Zara's written potato carts. It is literally an illness. A prion disease that leaves the revolution is fatal familial insomnia. A hereditary prion condition passed from the Koiko to the Occidentals. But not sexually. Probably through trade routes and potate acid, the prime component of the potato. Enough of Tibet mediocrity. Tips CF are a museum of failed chimeric experiments and tragic maladaptations. They are tortured creatures waiting to be put to sleep. Your morbid interest in them worries me. It would be cruel to entertain ourselves with their deformities. Were there any able-bodied races you needed education? You understand nothing. To solve the great race enigma, you have to first ask yourself, what is the race enigma? You have not even worded the mystery, let alone solved it. You need to internalize what you have heard here today, then return to me. This clarity does not come instantly. I cannot possibly imagine what else we have to discuss, Tibet Vasholian. Your love for disco music and venereal disease? Oh, don't be vulgar. White or not has got little to do with this. The race enigma runs much deeper than that. Mr. Clare is a man of vision and means. He has the will to confront international capital. Something your race, naivistic communist, of course you are. Revacholian man. The failure of communism to challenge the world order is the core of your... Above all, rampant multinational finance still reigning large. Tell me, where have you gotten your love of pathetic communism from? Degenerate youth culture? Rock and roll music? Stop explaining yourself. No one cares about your beliefs. The offshoots of the Seminoles people invented disco while having sex under the influence of cocaine. I am not surprised you enjoy it so much. This has happened to many of the side products of the inevitable cultural victory of the Seminoles race. What you need is to come to terms with extinction and never getting into this harbor.
I think this racist is better than the last, but the next racist will be the really good one.
That will be the...
He will grant us 3 wishes.
Your pedomorphic friend has quick wits. A protruding occiput and an indented zygomatic bone.
The lieutenant does not.
You should keep him close. The congenital defect of farsightedness does not render him a complete invalid. Racists are generally not very good examples of their race. I am not like them. I am craniometric perfection. I have taken the trouble to permanently draw a phrenologic grid on my skull and features. This should dispel. You exhibit forward projection of the jaw, indicative of schizophrenia and sexual inaccountability. From a purely aesthetic standpoint, the dimple in your jaw makes you look like it is impossible to see any more of your bone structure. It is covered in the ravages of Al-Hul. From what remain of your features, I can see flesh. This leads me to conclude you are not a police officer. You are a common criminal, an offspring of murderers and sailors from Sur-la-Clé and Vesp. Your racial heritage is uninteresting. It is the same as all Revacholians. Your parents and their parents made the decision to reproduce, while
Okay, it's definitely not his name. Whatever you do, please don't call him Garancy Quebec. Please. It's not funny. It's almost like music, especially with the sounds of assorted dishes boiling and simmering. You see a heavy steel door with a prominent dimple lock. You immediately feel drawn to the color. Blue is for mystery. The cobalt blue surface feels rough to touch. The stainless steel door, old cobalt paint, rough on the fingers. 40, 50 years since this was painted maybe. The door does not budge.
You do? It's a door in the back of the kitchen. Why do you care where it leads? Eccentric. But okay, I suppose we could look into it. As a side investigation. If you say so, Gart is the person to ask about this. The cafeteria manager.
Can I help you? Mine? No, it belongs to the Whirling and Round.
Thank you for clearing that up.
Why? To keep the hobos and drunks out. That's why. And the neighbors too.
I thought as much. And are you the only party?
Well, yes. Us and the...
It seems a little callous, doesn't it? Something stirs in you. Prod at him and find out.
What do you need them for?
It concerns the case. Please cooperate.
Just bring them back once you're done, please. Can I help you?
That sugary black rum stain on the counter makes you teary-eyed with joy. It's almost touching how syrupy and sticky it is. How long have you been up already? Attaboy. It's coming back to him. You had your mesolimbic reward pathway worried there, not thinking about drinking all that time. It was like you weren't yourself. There he is, the old boy, the devil. You rascal, you. Let's celebrate right now by licking that stain off the counter. Do it. It'll be wild.
What are you doing? We should move.
You could definitely go for some more. The titillating scent of alcohol in your nostrils was beautiful. This trash container is locked with a well-oiled crack. The lock pops. Don't. Maybe you shouldn't. There is, but you won't like it. Sweat forms. The smell of rotten food rises to greet you. You see soggy cartons, dirty rags, and organic waste.
We're just in time. This hasn't been emptied for over a week.
You see milk and egg rest with one broken egg in it. Some pasta wrapper. Picking up the soggy packages somehow feels familiar. You've done this before. The movements are recorded in your elbows, the methodology in your fingers. You're used to this. No, searching for evidence in the track. A box falls into pieces in your hands. Baptiste Soleil cereal. There are plastic pasta packages below. And turbo. You see milk, and you've done this before. No, a box falls into pieces in. Among the threadbare kitchen towels, something catches your eye. A pair of denim trousers. As the legs of the slime-covered jeans begin to unspool from the garbage, a rank corpse smell fills the air.
The victim's clothes? Cadaverine odor is faint. If these belong to the deceased, they were removed when he was still in. Drop them in here, officer. Guitar marked blue jeans. Pockets empty or emptied. He wore them with a belt, too. A white belt. The loops appear stretched. The belt is missing. That's it. Do you see anything else in there? I have another bag.
Something slimy catches your eye. A drab, long-sleeved shirt, olive-colored, appears from the food waste, dripping with pus.
This is a military-type overgarment. No label or serial number. This is the kind of rib-knit shirt that's worn over light armor to conceal it in an urban scenario.
The rest of the rags are just kitchen variety waste. A yellow old mug that catches your eye. But other than that...
All right. We should go to Gart again and ask if he knows who put the clothes in the trash. It could be as simple as someone from the hostel cleaning the yard. Or that one. I'd advise against confronting that force. Not really. All we know is the victim's clothes are in the trash. The lid was locked, and his establishment had the key. It's just a small loose thread.
It's just organic waste, cold and slimy on your hands. Apple and potato, nothing. It's not. What's this? A blue piece of plastic sticks out from the apple peels. It's shiny. They look badly damaged, but you can still make out forms and notes, written in a man's handwriting.
Officer, is that your paperwork? Yes, it is. Look. This plastic has the RCM street grid on it. You've even got an autopsy form. If you don't mind me asking, how did this get in the trash? What are you talking about? I don't know either. You should take stock of your notes. Make sure it's all there. Official notes contain informants' names. If some have fallen into the hands of the RCM's adversaries, bloodletting may well ensue. It would also not hurt to start taking notes on the case. Now, tell me what your eagle eyes see. Or are we finished?
You pick out a broken mug with an oddly racist depiction of the yellow man frolicking in saffron. Only in its social sensibility. The container sounds a muffled gong.
That's one thing off the list. I think we got it all.
It's the ledger you found in the trash. A pitiful cabbage of white and yellow papers hanging from plastic board, barely held together by a metal clip. This sad display is made complete by the faint smell of... There's a piece of toilet paper, or is it cleaning tissue? No, it's a metaphor for you. Below the pathetics, terror. Do not look into its blue heart. It's just toilet paper sticking to the back of the plastic clipboard. You can take it off if you want. Still wet, the toilet paper peels off the plastic easily. All you have to do is shake it off with your finger and voila! An aluminium block runs the width of the board, biting down on the paperwork. Its crocodile teeth are the only thing keeping the papers together. A regular pencil, the tip worn down to nothing, has been attached to the surface is interrupted by a silvery sticker. It's rectangular. It is similar to the RCM watermark on your blazer the lieutenant mentioned. Didn't he say something about the headlights of his motor carriage? That you can read these there?
What? Yes, halogen watermark used for adding information to RCM property. It depends. Aside from an anti-counterfeiting stamp, mine has my station number and address. The information varies by date of issue.
Maybe yours will have how many cases you've solved. How many years you've been on the force, he's thinking. It'll have that.
Any capable light with the right wavelength will do. Yes, RCM vehicles have headlights tuned especially to reveal halogen watermarks.
This means you can read the watermarks if you just turn the lights on.
Okay.
While a bunch of sodden papers sag from the clipboard in your hand, they're not exactly white. They're yellowed in patches by sunlight and alcohol, and covered in dense blue handwriting. Ink escapes into watercolor patterns, reaching its tendrils across the entire page. Once in a while, there's a red stamp that exclaims, "Case files commit to paper." The case files themselves are plenty. You count more than 100 sodden, crumpled up, earmarked pages falling apart in your hands. They appear to be sufficiently organized. Work, strife, poverty, the Jamrock Quarter. These are handwritten logs of investigations dating back to January 51, this year. The exact number is hard to estimate due to missing pages and an odd naming convention. But there are at least 20, maybe 30 cases undertaken, not completed, mind you. It's the middle of March. You have attempted 2 cases a week on average.
Huh? 2 complex cases to undertake is a lot, yes. You really have to push yourself. I would not suggest it, lest you start making mistakes. 2? That's a lot. I didn't mean to say you are making mistakes, by the way. That was presumptuous of me. It's okay. We all make mistakes.
Like a fan of gills, the checkered papers dry in your hand. The handwriting is extremely dense, if mostly illegible. Yes, it appears you employ a, shall we say, robust yet literary system. Each investigation has its case number written on the margins. Yet, still more tellingly, a title, one might say even. One that draws inspiration from snoop fiction and vespertine cop show staples. Yes, all caps. One is called The Next World Mural. Another, The Square Bullet Hole Murders. Another yet, The Unsolved. Others appear more light-hearted. The guys on a couch in an unexpected location, and the murder at the hookah parlor. It's going to take an effort to piece these case files together, but it can be done. Once you're done inspecting them up close.
You mean the alphanumeric? Officer, precinct, time of arrival at the scene? Oh, you mean the titular? Yes, well, so do I. In our defense, almost everyone in the RCM does. It's a holdover from the early days of the RCM, right after the revolution, when the organization had little idea how to do things. It persists in an unofficial capacity. Officers use these titles to refer to their work among themselves. Again, in your defense, I seem to have named one the man with the hole in his head. That was a real person. His death was real. Still, I named it that. I pray his loved ones never find out. Rail spiked through the head. He died. It was a workplace accident.
There is, for precisely one more. 15 pages near the end remain untouched by the damage. The checkered grid forms a structure of passages. Breaking once all the tasks are accomplished, the case is complete. The tasks you've completed flow out of the kind green ape pen in a brash freehand similar to the rest of the letters. The wording comes easily. It's almost robotically simple. A language developed for mental rigor. Inspect the victim's body. Interview the cafeteria man. It's not exactly poetry, but poetry would be out of place. A satisfying slash sounds across the paper. You're done. It's things to be done and things already done. The composition of reality. This is an extremely useful tool for a detective of the city.
No, actually. Any ideas? Furies. Yes, well, I don't know. I have to be honest, I'm not experiencing the internal strife that it refers to. And also, could you make it less poetic somehow? Just a normal case name, you know? Think.
Yes, you know what that normal name is, but it's so plain. Anything else, please.
Okay. It's a good name, but it has one problem. This case has nothing to do with the setting sun. Something more concrete, perhaps? Do you have something concrete?
Usual is boring. We don't do that.
Ah, yes. I have to tell you, officer, I don't appreciate ironic titles. Other officers will have to use this as reference. If it's idiot or cockfinger, they're not going to get it. They're going to think an idiot and a cockfinger were on this case. So, do you have something less?
Great. That's great. That's actually what I was thinking too. The Hanged Man.
I'm going to start calling it the Hanged Man. It's good to be sorted this out.
You don't exactly close them, so much as distance yourself from the smelly papers. They're a little further from your nose now. It's proving to be harder than expected. You just don't have the intellectual rigor to patch the quilt back together. Try again later. In the back, you see thin, translucent copier paper. Some neon yellow, then rip them from the binder and hand them out, according to type of form. 3. The topmost are misconduct fines. The middle ones are station calls. And you don't have to be an intellectual giant to do police work. A monetary penalization ranging from 20 to 250 real. Severe cases allow for 1,000 real, but they appear. These are quite sinister in tone. They give a date and time for the person to appear at the specified precinct police station. Below the call are the criminal charges you risk. A dozen pages of thin copy paper, bright red in color. You see the parameters of a deceased human form. Yes, all that remains now is to fill those forms and hand them to people. Fines for wrongdoers. Interview requests for the rest of the stinking cellulose is much worse for wear. It's made of dark blue plastic, hard enough to beat someone to submission with. The edges are rounded, however. Something rattles inside, ever so lightly. Is there permeables? It's not hidden per se. The compartment is made for permeable materials that would get damaged if something happened to it. The plastic shimmers like lapis lazuli, but it is not see-through. You cannot see to its center. With your hands, you 4-sized pages hang from the clip screwed to the top of the board. Arson, petty theft, spousal abuse. You don't exactly close them. So much as distance yourself from the smelly papers is not what you end up doing. You squeeze the plastic to slide it open, but nothing happens. Then you bend it. The ledger quivers in your hand. As it shakes, the pages rustle. This pathetic mess suddenly